Well, good afternoon. Trucker Todd here, and welcome to the Tuesday Trucker Talk. It's already been Technical Tuesday. We've already had some stuff happen. This quit working last night, my power strip. I got it working again, and it's quit again. So I got to throw it in the trash and get a new one. It's just not going to make the cut. And right before the show, I checked Verizon and AT&T upload speeds, and the downloads were great, but the uploads are terrible. So we're going to have all kinds of technical issues tonight, I'm sure. We got a great show lined up. Somebody just dropped off. There he is. We're going to have three guests on, and some of you might recognize their names from being moderators on the show. But they bring all three of them bring a different perspective to trucking, and we're curious to pick their brains and see what we can learn. The first guy got an SFI truck and leased it onto a mega carrier, and he's running that mega carrier's load board, and we're going to talk to him, see what he thinks about the spot market. I guess technically he's on a private load board, but we'll get his take, see what he thinks about SFI and his SFI truck. The second guy is a company driver, but he also gets to run the load board for the company, the way I understand it. I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll let him clarify what it's like in this market from a company driver's perspective. And then we're going to have a guy that y'all are familiar with, a guy that actually gave me the idea to start doing these lives, and pretty good friend. Trucking with Fly Rabbit or Fly Rabbit Trucking. I get that. I always screw that up too. Anyway, James will be here as well. But before we bring those guys on, a lot of you I know want to know how orientation went this week, what happened with my truck. We've already had a breakdown. So I'll say this about orientation: it was the best and the worst orientation I've ever had. Now, you guys know when I went to F2F, that was the worst orientation at that point in my life. Not because the company did anything wrong, but because their internet went down while they were doing it on like Microsoft Teams or one of the video conferencing apps, and the internet went down, and so a lot I missed like the first 15 minutes of orientation because of their internet. Well, this was bad for a different reason. And so let me tell you what happened. So it's a small company. The orientation was held at his house. And so I went to a Love's that was about 17 miles away from his house the night before. I went inside the truck stop. And when I came out, there was a guy about to back into my truck trying to back into a spot. And so I went over and I said, "Hey, I'm Bobtail. Let me move so you can get in there." I moved out of the spot, or I went to move out of the spot. I went to crank my truck, and the starter was bad. It was making a horrible noise. And I finally got it started after about 5 or 10 minutes and got out and let him pull in. But that whole night, I was just a nervous wreck because me and the owner of that company had already found me a load for Friday afternoon. And so I was like, oh, we're going to have to cancel this load. I was just thinking, man, this is going to look great for the first day of orientation. And so the next morning, he wanted to start at 7 in the morning. And some of you guys know what a morning person I am. But anyway, I got over there about 6:30 in the morning, and and when I walked up to his door, I said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I think my starter's gone out." And I said, "I might be able to get it started to leave after orientation today, but I'm not sure I'll be able to get it started tomorrow." And I said, "I've already emailed the dealership because the dealership had said they were going to help me out with it." And I said, "I'm trying to come up with a solution, but I just wanted to let you know in case we have to get this load covered." And immediately he went into problem solving mode, and he called a Kenworth dealer, and they said, "Oh no, it's going to be about a week before we could get you in." And then we looked for like shade tree type mechanic shops and stuff, and the starter was going to be a little over $700. And anyway, long story short, we found one about an hour and a half away from his house in New Orleans. And so we hopped in his Suburban, drove to New Orleans, and picked up a starter. Now, full transparency here. I've put starters on many cars, and I get the concept of how to do it on a truck, but I did not have the tools or even the dexterity at this point in my life to put that starter on. And while I did assist him putting the starter on, I'm not going to blow smoke at you. He did 75, 80% of the work at least. And so I'm really, really grateful to him. I can say that in over 26 years of driving, I've never had a starter go out on a truck. So it's not a something that occurs regularly. And I can also say I've never had the owner of the company come out and put it on for me. Also, even me encouraging him to charge me labor and gas to New Orleans, he did not charge me labor or gas for going to get the starter or installing it. And he also paid for the starter and is going to deduct it out at a later date. So I'm extremely grateful to him. I did have the money, but he said he didn't want to put me out on the road with no money, and so he was going to take it out at a later date, and I appreciate that. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention his wife. She made the best, and I'm not even exaggerating, the very best breakfast burritos I've ever had in my life. And she does have a secret ingredient. I've agreed not to reveal that ingredient, but man, they were good. Also, they took us or took me to some really nice restaurant or to a really nice restaurant, and man, it was good. But anyway, enough about that. Something else I want to say about him before we move on. You know, I'm always saying read your contract, read your contract. Well, with this guy, it's not a choice. He actually reads the contract to you line by line in his orientation and makes sure you understand every line of it. And so that was refreshing. You know, usually companies throw it in front of you and they're like, sign here, here, and here. And it happens so quick that you're not sure what's going on. And that wasn't the case here. And so it was a really positive experience. I got to meet one of his sons and one of his daughters. They were real nice, and just a great company. And I couldn't be prouder to work there. Also, I was concerned about micromanagement. I haven't experienced that. He called me today with some legitimate concerns, some stuff I had forgot to do on my logbooks, some form and manner violations. He told me what they were on this keep trucking motive ELD, and I went back and corrected them, and I appreciate that as well. But seems like a super guy. He's been really supportive so far. I don't know if he regrets hiring me because my bad luck seems to be continuing, but it has been a great experience. Let's say hi to just a couple of people, and then let's jump right into it. I'm excited. We're going to start with Chris when we do it because he's only with us for a limited time tonight, and then we're going to jump over to Tim and get a company driver perspective, and then we'll wrap it up with James. But you guys feel free to throw questions in too, and we'll get them asked. Uh, Potato says, "Howdy, Todd. Hello. Hey, hey, Matthew Miller. Somebody backed into your mirror today. Doesn't it tick you off, Dennis? I mean, accidents happen, but you talk about an inconvenience. It's not even that expensive to repair usually, unless they get into your hood. But it's just a hassle dealing with the insurance companies and hoping that the bonehead that backed into you's got insurance and all that good stuff." Thank you, Dennis. It seems like it happens every Tuesday. I don't know what it is. Maybe we need to move the show to another night of the week. Awesome that you got a good company for your truck. Yeah, so far. And man, I was so tempted to show you guys the decals, even though I'm trying to hide the company for now because it looks sharp. I like the font he used. I like the decals. I don't know who uh, designed all that, if he did it himself, but I really like the way it looks. That proves he actually cares about his company and who he brings on. Yeah, I think so. He kept saying, he kept stressing during orientation that he wanted a family atmosphere, and I got that vibe from him. Um, he's one of those guys I think you could easily become friends with. Can you do a video on what it's like trucking with Down syndrome? My son doesn't think, oh gosh. Man, I should have read that one. All right, I guess I got to start blocking people already tonight. If one of y'all's got it up, go ahead and grab him. I'm going to bring it up so that I can do it too here in just a second. What a bonehead. Yep, just get out and look. Gary saying howdy, howdy again. All right, let's bring everybody in. Hopefully, somebody got him blocked. I'm bringing it up now, too. It's going to take me just a second. Disabilities aren't funny, A. And B, if if you have a disability like that, you can't get your CDL. So, but we've got boneheads in here that probably don't even drive a truck, saying stupid stuff because they don't have nothing better to do. All right, here we go. Here's Chris. Here's Tim, and here's James. Welcome to the show, guys. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
All good here.
All
Good.
right, everybody here okay?
Oh yeah.
Yep, good here.
Good deal. Let's start with Chris since we've only got him for a few minutes. He's got to leave out about 6 o'clock Central Time, I think he said. Uh, so you're in an SFI truck working for a mega carrier, and you're doing that mega carrier's private load board. Are you finding that freight is slow like other guys on the regular spot market are finding? And what kind of rates are you seeing and things like that?
Yeah, it's obviously I've only been here. I've only been here for a little over 2 months now, 2.5 months, and so I can't relate to what it was like here before things went south. So I can only speak to since I've been here. Since I've been here, the rates have fallen some, and learning how each company does business and how when they put those loads on the board, Todd, is it's just a learning curve. So I can't give any history to what went on before I got here. We're very limited here as to where you better run and where you better not run.
Okay, okay. What about experience? How long have you been driving a truck?
I've been driving 9+ years, all of that company but 6 months.
And I'm seeing in your by your background you're in a Freightliner, right?
That's right. I'm in a 2023 freight checker.
And
It's not shaking. Let me give a free plug here, and I'm not getting a dime out of this. This is meant to be funny, but it's not a freight shaker because I put Centromatics on it, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you own a truck, that's everybody ought to do that by noon tomorrow, because I'm riding a luxury entertainer bus now. It's quite the deal, Todd. It really is. I wish they'd sponsor your show, and we talked about that other day on the phone. Um, Not just even about the comfort of the ride, but the wear and tear it's saving on your shocks and your tie rod ends and your kingpins and your bushings, and it's the real deal. I can't believe that I didn't know about it before now. Of course, companies, they don't care how rough the ride is, and they buy tires by the thousand, so they just stick another tire on it if you wear it out. But as an owner op, I wouldn't want to run a truck without Centromatics on it. Highly recommend that.
Well, I like your idea. Everybody email Centromatic and tell them they should sponsor the show and give me a free pair of Centromatics for my truck. I'm all for
Yeah,
it. I'll
just in
support
case
that.
anybody cares, it's about $300 an axle.
New sponsor.
There you go. I'd be happy to put a free pair on my truck and share how that works out. Let's see what else. What kind of fuel economy are you getting out of that Freightliner?
Not what I should be getting, and my buddy James, he's kicking my hind end. He'll be on later. He's one of them 61-mile-an-hour dudes, and he's getting 11 and 12 and all that stupid fuel mileage in his Peterbilt. But I hear we can get into this as quickly as we can, but uh, and I didn't say this earlier, and you didn't either, but I don't care to put it out there. I'm leased to JB Hunt, and we have a very small customer base. You would think we have a large customer base, and they may have a large customer base, but we as owner ops don't get to run it. We refuse.
Uh-oh.
We lost his sound.
Yeah, he may be back in a second. While we're
Everybody,
waiting. Oh, there he is.
yeah, I said I'm sorry about that, Todd. Everybody doesn't know I'm on with you tonight, so I hope nobody else calls. But anyway, um, what I was saying is we just have a small customer base here, and so we're having to run a lot of empty miles. And if you run 450 a day, which is at JB Hunt is about an average loaded day for us, you're going to run 200 empty to go with that. So when you have to run 650 miles every day, I'm running 79 mile an hour all the time. And so to answer your question, I'm empty and loaded. I'm probably averaging 8.5 or so at
Okay.
79 mile an hour.
Well, we need to do a couple of disclaimers here. The first one is when I brought everybody on tonight, I didn't give them any pre-announced questions. Nobody knows what's going to be asked. Also, hopefully the viewers will ask some questions. The other thing we need to throw out there is James is driving a limousine on wheels, a super nice truck, and he's killing all of us in fuel economy.
That's
So
exactly right. That's
so
exactly right.
that's
Plus, he's got all the time in the world, when the rest of us are trying
yeah.
to find a couple extra hours a day.
Yeah, if you were in the Taj Mahal on wheels, you could go slow too and just
That's
enjoy
right.
the ride.
He's working for a good company. The rest of us maybe not so much, but
He
he can tell you about that when he gets up here. But
he is working for a good company. I know one or two people in the office over there, and he's with some good people over there. All right, let's see what else we got in the comments. If you guys got any questions for him, throw them up, and we'll get to them real quick. And if not, we'll start asking Tim some questions and bring him in the mix as well.
while we're waiting
Robbie's
there,
here.
Todd, let me say too quick. I will answer any questions as best I can as to JB Hunt IC and as into F2 or as to SFI as best I can. I do not claim to represent an opinion of JB Hunt or SFI. All the opinions I give you will be strictly from my point of view as I see it.
That's probably a good one for all of us. None of us are representing our company. We're just giving our opinion as experienced drivers out here. Here's a question for JB Hunt real quick. Are they paying percentage or mileage?
They are paying 65% of the line haul and 100% of the fuel surcharge. And of course, as with any real load board, I guess you're not going to get any paid empty miles.
Okay. All right. Let's bring Tim in too. We've been going about 20 minutes now. Let's get him some questions. Tim is you may have seen him in the comments. He's a moderator and he calls me from time to time, but he's a company driver. And so he's got kind of the company driver perspective on things. Now, Tim, don't they let you guys pick from a load board as well?
Yeah, but the problem is there's only 120 of us. They were hired for the load board for company, but now they're not. Right now, they're on a freeze.
So you're kind of on a deal that nobody else can do right now.
Right now, yeah. For some reason, they said I talked to the new owners of the company, and they said they were going to continue the load board. And about 2 weeks later, they said that there was a freeze on it. So it's only just 120 drivers right now.
Now, y'all pretty much run east of I-35, right?
That is correct. That may change now that DB Shanker's running things, but right now that's all I've done. But
Okay, since
they're going to Denver and stuff like that, but I haven't seen any of those loads.
Since he mentioned DB Shanker, I can go ahead and say he works for DB Shanker, which recently either bought out or merged with USA Truck. So they're a pretty big outfit. They were already big, but now they're really big. Do you are you percentage or mileage based?
I get paid per mile.
There you go. And have you when you're looking on you guys' load board, have you noticed things start to pick up the last couple of weeks, or do they seem like they're still pretty slow?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problems keeping moving. I mean, I can do. I'm not quite like your cowboy over there that gets 3,300 miles every week, but I can average around 2,800 to 30,000 miles a week.
That's plenty for an old guy like me. So we got
Yeah.
a couple of questions here. Let's see. Isn't Schneider's lease truck program? That's not a complete sentence. I think he's asking if Snyder's is a lease purchase program. There's two different ones. There's one if you're leased on to Schneider, the company, but they also have SFI where you can lease a truck and go to another company. So I'm not sure if there's some confusion there or what that question was. Let's see. Is JB Hunt still not doing cross country dropping hooks?
No, we are. I'm going to be honest with you, and I didn't come on here tonight to blow JB Hunt up, but I'm like you, Todd. I call balls and strikes the way I see it, and the way it is right now, at least in this market since I've been here, I have to make $1,000 a day, 5 days a week to keep doing this. I mean, that's not totally accurate. I mean, I can live on less, but that's what I really need to make. I don't mind telling you my expenses with all in fuel and everything runs around $3,000 a week. So if I do $5,000 a week, then that means I get a $2,000 deposit. Now that's not free and clear money. I have to pay for oil changes out of that, tires out of that, taxes out of that, and that's about the best that's about the best you can really count on. Now I've had some weeks where I got a $3,000 deposit, but it's not the normal. So with JB Hunt right now, I can only run about 5 states and do 5,000 a week to the truck. My part.
Well,
That's about all I can run is 5 states.
well, I got a question for Tim too. Have you noticed that they've started integrating USA Trucks freight with you guys, or are they still kind of keeping it separate?
Yeah, I mean, it's on the load board, so I know the ICs are getting it. They got it before we did. I've ran probably half a dozen of their loads. So yeah, it's on there. I think they're slowly starting to get more and more going. They just wanted to see how things were going to go before they threw it all at us. But yeah, it's on there.
That's good. Let's see here. Let's do a couple of questions. No Fear says howdy. And who has the best lease? Well, it depends on what's important to you. Every lease has its pros and cons. We might as well talk about another one because Chris mentioned having to take care of maintenance and stuff. James is actually doing a lease purchase where he pays, I believe, 43 cents a mile for the truck, but his maintenance is covered bumper to bumper on the truck, if I understand that right. And like I say, I know one or two people over there at that company, and they seem like a pretty good outfit. But I'll let James tell you all about them.
Well, their lease purchase is a little bit different, but yeah, you're right. It's 43 cents a mile. All your maintenance is included, oil changes, anything that goes wrong with the truck. So obviously, if there's a warranty issue, the dealership takes care of the warranty issues. Tires are also included too with that. So that's the good thing about it. Also, with the lease purchase here, with the 43 cents a mile, you can do the math. The more miles you drive, the higher your payment is. So a good, comfortable, payment with the miles. I mean, somewhere around 24 to 2,800 miles is really where you want to be at, to where your truck payment isn't outrageous.
Yeah. So if you ran say a 2,800 mile week, your payments would be real comparable to what Chris is paying then, right?
That's correct. Yes, it'd be about between 12 and $1,300 is what it would be.
But you'd have your maintenance included. Now, obviously,
Yes.
if you ran over something in the road and blew a tire, that'd be on you, though, right? They're not gonna cover driver error.
No, that, as far as I understand, all tires are taken care of. We take care of no maintenance whatsoever, including tires.
Wow,
Yes.
wow. I was on one similar. Oh gosh, this has been 8, 10 years ago when I was at Western Flyer, and if you uh, if you ran over something in the road and got a flat, or if something flew up and hit your windshield and cracked your windshield, they considered that on you.
Okay.
So let's go back to Tim. What about truck selection over at your company? What kind of trucks are they running over there? Uh oh.
Internationals. I'm in a 2023 International, and just so you know, I could give two craps about fuel mileage. I get about 7 miles to the gallon because I run this thing and I never shut it off unless I'm home. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's important to point out. When you're a company driver, your focus is a lot different than when you're having to buy the fuel. So I get that.
yeah, I wear a CPAP. So their policy is if you have a CPAP, they turn your truck on so it idles. So I've never had them say anything about it. I tell you, if you want to come to a company that if you are a company driver and you want to run for a company that does not mess, I mean, I've done some stuff that should have had safety call me, and not saying I did it on purpose or I'm doing anything illegal or unsafe, but everybody goes a few miles over the speed limit here and there, and they've never once called me and asked about nothing. They let me run as hard and as I want. Now the trucks used to run 70 miles an hour. Then the fuel went up, so now they're down to 68. But I mean, this is a brand new truck and it runs good. The Kenworth I had before, it was clean, ran good. They do have some that aren't as clean, but drivers tore them up.
Is it mostly? Do you guys? I'm not real familiar with DB Shanker. Do y'all do a lot of your warehouse type stuff, your Walmarts, your J.C. Penney's, or what kind of freight do y'all generally haul over there?
Well, you know as well as I do, I'm not going to name companies, but I
Yeah.
will say that we do freight for just about every big company you can think of. And DB Schenker, they're a European company, and what they do is they use ships and planes and things like that to bring in stuff from overseas, and then they get them to ports and get them to their warehouses. And that's where we go and pick them up from. So, so all they do is they're pretty much an LTL. They get the line haul to where it needs to go, and then they bought us out. USA Truck is who I work for. They bought us, our company, to do all their ground transportation.
Ah, so USA Truck bought DB Shanker. I had it the other.
No. DB Schenker bought us. They're the European company. And then USA Truck does their ground transportation. So they used us for their USA truck driving transportation of all their stuff. And then we still have our own customers also as USA Truck.
Okay, so it's gonna be your general freight then. It's not like airplane parts or car parts specific. It's a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, we go. I've had just about everything you can think of in this truck, including garbage.
You wouldn't believe what I'm hauling right now, but I won't tell you till after I get it delivered. So let's see here. Here's a question for James. 43 cents a mile. Do you get that money back of what you don't use if you should leave?
I don't think I understand the question. Get what money back?
Yeah, I don't think Robbie understands. It's that's your truck payment basically with maintenance included. So you pay on the truck till it gets, I think, what'd you say, 365,000 miles?
395 is where it's at. So whatever comes first, 3 years or 395, and then it becomes a choice of where to go to from there, whether to get a new truck or possibly buy this truck with a balloon payment.
Yeah, the tempting thing about what James does, this is what you got to keep in mind. No, you don't get any of that 43 cents back, but if he had a major repair, they don't come after him for any more money beyond that 43 cents either. So it's not a terrible deal for sure. And if you've seen his video he did of his truck, he's put a video out. It's a loaded out Peterbilt. It's a very nice truck. I wish I had the refrigerator out of it. I don't know how I'd fit it in my cabinets, but I like
I,
it.
I will tell you there is a lease completion bonus at the end of the 3 years, though. I don't know the exact amount, but it's a pretty nice one.
Can I ask
Okay.
a question about-
Yeah.
Yeah, James. Sorry, I don't mean to take over the show here, but
Yes, sir.
sounds to me like that is a pretty decent deal for somebody that wanted to start off leasing a truck, because when you're home and you come back out, you're not coming out to a deficit, right? Because you
That's
didn't run it.
exactly right.
That
Yeah,
is
and the
awesome.
only thing that you're due if you do that, and I don't know, say you don't have any miles whatsoever that week, you do not have a truck payment. The only thing you have to pay is your fixed cost, and fixed cost here, I believe, are 207 a week. So the only thing you're going to be out is 207 because you're not going to have any fuel for that week because you're at home.
All right.
Yeah,
How
it's,
long do
it's
they?
an awesome plan. There's really no risk whatsoever.
Yeah, that's cool. So how long
Yeah.
do they tell you how long you're allowed to stay home?
No, it's independent operator. You stay home as long as you want to. Obviously, if you go home, for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, it's all on you. I mean, I don't know too many people that can afford to stay home for very long. What I try to do is I try to go home every 2 to 3 weeks or so, and I try to do like a 34-hour reset, maybe stay a little bit longer, 48 hours, and if possible, 3 days. Just depends on what's going on at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any of you guys that's got questions for each other, throw them in there. That's great. We just kind of have an open discussion here. Let's grab a couple more comments. DIY says hello. Man, that's good to have him here tonight. James that pays 43 cents a mile. Are you comfortable saying who do you work for?
Absolutely. It's Christensen Transportation out of Stratford, Missouri. Stratford is a kind of a suburb of Springfield, Missouri.
All righty. And I guess if you guys want more information about that, leave a comment and we'll get you and James in touch where he can get you with the powers that be over there. Or if you want to talk to Chris about JB Hunt or SFI, or if you want to talk to Tim, doggone it, my brain, Tim about DB Shanker, we can sure get you in contact with those guys. Let's see. Daryl went to USA Truck Orientation back in 2010. That was a day or two ago.
That's a long time. But things have changed since then. If anybody's got anything bad to say about the company, it was before 2018.
All
That was
righty. And my good friend Manny says that when he lived in Europe, he did a lot of LTL for DB Shanker. So they evidently have a big presence over there.
Yeah, they run the trucks over there in Europe too. They have trucks over there that they run for DB Shanker in different European countries. But over here, it's USA truck.
Okay, I was going to skip this comment, but other people are talking about it, so I'm going to bring it up. Aside from controlling more of your home time, what is the benefit of leasing a truck? Most of the paychecks I've seen show they only earn at most 2K a week. Well, it depends on the driver and it depends on the company, is what I would tell you.
Yeah, and let me talk about that a second, Todd, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You got to remember that right now we're in a recession. We're in a recession nationwide, and we're in a freight recession. Okay, to put that in English, it's worse or as bad, if not headed worse, now than it was in 2008. All right, so where I'm going with that is, yeah, we might be making 2,000 a week now, but we were making 3 and 4 and 5 and 6,000 a week 6 months ago. Um, so there is potential to make a whole lot more money. Now, everything that goes up must come down. So we're at the bottom right now, but it won't always be at the bottom. So that's something that needs to be pointed out about why you would lease. And some of us, in my case, I'm on a lease purchase. So it's not just a standard lease. I'm going to own the truck. So, the plan was that my truck's set up on 36 months, which makes the payment extremely high. People say, oh, go to the dealership and buy a truck. Well, those people are just ignorant, don't know what they're talking about. First of all, you do that, you're going to pay 40% down at some places. Then you're going to finance the truck for 5 or 6 or 7 years. So you're going to pay a boatload of money in interest for that amount of time on a $185,000 truck. Whereas paying it off in 3 years, you save a lot of money in the long run. Now, it's hard making those big payments, but just keep in mind that till we hit bottom here, my goal was to pay for this truck in 24 months. I would have owned a 2023 Freightliner with 40,000 miles on it, free and clear. And I could have run that truck another 4 years probably without any mechanical problems and made a whole lot of money. Now, with the economy doing what it's done, I'm probably going to have the whole 36 months to pay for it now. But at the end of that 36 months, I'm going to have probably 350,000 on this truck miles, and I can either sell that truck and get another 70,000, 80,000 out of it, or I can trade it in on a new truck. And so there's lots of advantages to doing leases or lease purchase. James hadn't talked about this, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but after so many months, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 18, but after a few months, he can take his truck and go to any company he wants to go with. He don't have to stay at Christensen. If a freight gets bad or he doesn't like his dispatcher or whatever, he can just take his truck and go somewhere else.
That's right. There is a deposit with that, though. I believe the deposit's $5,000, but I think yours is the same situation too. If you wanted to move your truck, you had to put a deposit down. So,
well, the deal at SFI, just so everybody knows, because you hear people talk a lot of garbage, and most of them talking they've never even done an SFI lease. So just keep that in mind. But with SFI, as with a lot of companies, if you move your truck, they're going to charge you $500 to redraw the paperwork. Now that's high, but whatever they can do at that, then I guess. But where you get the deal with SFI, everybody says, oh, they're going to charge you $10,000 to move your truck. That's hogwash. Here's the gospel truth of it. If you're moving the truck to a company that will take the payment out of your settlement every week and give it to JB Hunt, it don't cost you a dime to move your truck other than the $500. Now, if you go to Mercer or Landstar or F2F, they won't hold the payment out. So in that case, they're going to ask for a security deposit, because at that point they got to trust you to give them a debit card every Friday for their money. So that deposit, I don't know if they want me saying this or not, but I can tell you that deposit's $3,000 as of today. It's $3,000 if you go to a company that won't hold the payment.
So
in
you
other
get that
words,
money back.
total, it's your money. They're just holding it to make sure you make the payment. They have a $3,000 deposit on me now. they would then have 6,000 on me when I move this truck, and I'm going to move it. But when I do, they'll have $6,000 on me, and then the 500 you just lose that. They take that for drawing the paperwork up and re-signing all the contracts. But it's not $10,000. It's whatever you paid when you first paid a deposit, and then they're going to charge you $3,000 to move it somewhere that won't hold the money.
All right. All right, so I want to tell them a different too. You were talking about company driver versus IC. Chris already told us what he approximately makes a week. I can tell you, I generally, depending on the miles, I generally stay between 1,000 and 1,400 a week. I don't know what James is making, but I don't get to choose when I can tell him when I'm going home because I pick my own load, so I go where I want. You know, I don't go wherever I want with the truck, and you know, there's a lot of big stipulations when you're a company driver. You got a lot of rules to follow. But when I was leasing, because I have leased before for 8 years, and I can tell you that you know, life was easier. The only reason why I'm a company driver right now, it took a while to find the company that I'm with, and I'm glad I did because they're really good to be a company driver. I'm not leasing because of the market the way it is right now. You know, yeah. If we were getting line haul was paying what it was, you know, when I was doing it back in, you know, 2006 to 2012 minus 2008 and 2009, I'd be still in the game. But there was no way I'm going to run for $1.50 a mile when I can make that same money as a company driver.
Yeah. Now, let me say it, and here I'm not defending J.B. Hunt, because if you want to know the greats, I can tell you the greats, and if you want to know the uglies, I can tell you the uglies. I'm averaging $2 a mile for all miles, but I'm very limited where I can run. I have a lot of risks that you and Tim, that you and James don't have. James James got the best of both worlds, and I tell him that all the time. And if I knew then what I know now, I'd have probably done what James is doing instead of what I'm doing. But to be a lease, you know, owner, operator, lease operator, whatever your case is, we do have a lot more freedom. I book all my own loads. I run where I want to run. I run whatever schedule I want to run. I don't get told I mean, as long as I pick up the load when I say I was going to pick it up and deliver it when I say I was going to deliver it, I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't call and talk to bosses, and bosses don't call me. J.B. Hunt's never called me one time since I've been here. And that's even when I've been over 80 mile an hour before several times. I've never got a phone call. Now, they ask us not to run over 80 mile an hour, but I like to run out west. And I went to Phoenix, and I was on a tight schedule, and I run 80 mile an hour all the way out there to make delivery. And you know how it is when you got the crew set on 78 or 79 and you fall down the hill, you look down, you're running 83 or 84 mile an hour. You're not trying to be an idiot. The speed limit's 80, but you get over a little bit. And I've never had a phone call and said, "What's the hurry?" Well, you know, of course, I've always slowed down as soon as I saw it. I'm not out of here intentionally trying to run like that, and I sure as heck don't run like that on the East Coast. But when you get out west, for people that's never been out there, speed limit 75 and 80, and you might drive, depending on what time of day it is, you might drive 23 miles and not see a car, you know. So, but I've done things that they could have called me on and said, "Hey, you know, what about this? What about that?" So, as a company driver, in my experience, and I to be transparent, I've only worked for 3 companies. I worked for Boyd Brothers, I worked for TMC, and I worked for Avery Express. All 3 of those companies were very controlling. Avery Express and TMC more than Avery. They were very controlling. You go to the home terminal, and you spit on the sidewalk, you get called in the office. You go to the home terminal, you get off the sidewalk in the grass, you get called to home terminal. There's just a lot of garbage that sometimes company drivers have to put up with that we don't have to put up with. And so that's nice, but the bigger thing is really just being able to pick and choose your loads. Now, to be transparent, Todd has what is truly a load board. I can't speak to Tim, and I don't know if he'd even want to say in his position, but I can tell you 100% at JB Hunt that we don't have a legitimate load board. It is heavily manipulated. For instance, I run Indianapolis a lot. Everybody that knows anything about trucking knows there's a crap load of freight in Indianapolis, okay? If I'm going to be in Indianapolis on Thursday, I can put in a 200-mile radius of Indianapolis and pull up loads, and JB Hunt will show me 4 or 5 loads. 3 of them will be so crappy a drunk wouldn't pull them. And so what I'm telling you is you're going to see the loads they want you to pull. It's not a legitimate load board. So I don't have the freedom that Todd has, being able to run the DAP board or Truck Stop or C.H. Robinson. It's more of a multiple choice of loads. Prime Inc. used to have a deal called Load Choice. And for their ICs, they would give you, you could ask to see some loads, and they'd give you 3 loads, and 2 of them would be so crappy you wouldn't even look at them, and the other may be decent, it might not. And if you turned down all 3 loads, you had to wait 30 minutes, and they'd send you 3 more crappy loads. And so you can run around and stretch your chest and say, yeah, I got a load board, I booked my loads. No, you don't. You know, it's the same thing here. We don't book our loads. We might get a multiple choice, but they manipulate what we see. And this is why I left Swift. And we didn't say that earlier, but we all work together. Me and James and Todd all work together at Swift. And one of the reasons I left over there is because I wanted a load board, but I knew that if Swift ever got a load board, it'd be so heavily manipulated that it wasn't going to be a load board. And I thought when I came to JB Hunt, I was getting a legitimate load board, but I didn't get a legitimate load board. And, you know, and Tim, you're welcome. I mean, I don't know what you want to say, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know back in the day, that was the going around complaint about USA Truck was it's not a legitimate load board. And I don't know, you know, obviously you got new ownership, and like I said, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't even know if you want to give an opinion about it, but I would be curious as to whether it, you know, how much the load board is really, here's the freight we have, you run what you want to run, which is what I thought I was getting when I come to JB Hunt, but that's not what I got.
Yeah, I can tell you that every company that you work for, if it's a company and you're only getting loads off of their load board, like Schneider, JB Hunt, USA Truck, they're not where you're calling brokers. You're getting a board. You're seeing what freight that they put on there, and they choose what freight goes on there and what doesn't, because they have other, you know, like I said, we have company drivers that aren't on the load board, and they have to have freight for them too. So and then they have ICs that are pulling off the same board. So these ICs that work here, which, you know, why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but because all I'm looking at is miles. So I run miles. I don't care what it pays. Yeah. But I see they're seeing what the line haul pays. So, but yeah, exactly. You're not. The only way you're going to be a legitimate load board is if you work for a company that just all they have is their authority. Yeah. And they're hiring you as a lease or IC, and they're saying, you go and get the freight, like F2F and some of these other ones. You get the freight and you book it, and then you pay us a certain amount for using our authority, and you go run and do what you want. But you're not going to get that for an actual company. Now, James, are you picking a load board, or are you getting dispatched?
I'm actually getting dispatched. I'm kind of like you. I'm just looking for miles. It doesn't really bother me where I go to. with the exception of New York City, the usual stuff, New York, New Jersey. And honestly, our company doesn't even go that. We kind of stay in the triangle from like Texas, Chicago, Ohio, down to Florida. So we kind of stay in that area and really don't venture out.
And is that John Christensen, or do they just call it Christensen? Is that the same name, John?
No, it's a different company. It's Christensen Transportation. There is a John
Okay.
Christner Trucking. They're out of Oklahoma, but we're out of Missouri.
All right. That's what I wanted to know, because I'm going to look them up. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I'd say that I got better than James is I pick and I choose where I go. I don't like really getting dispatched. After you're an owner operator, you know, because I have run the load board. I've ran real boards and called and booked freight, you know, kind of like Todd, and we've talked about it. But once you've done that, it's real hard to trust somebody else to put freight on you.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be my biggest complaint, if I had any at all here, is that nobody can dispatch it better than you can dispatch yourself.
Exactly.
Giving them a little kudos here, though. The dispatcher that I have, he does know what I need, what I want, and how I like to run. So I've got no complaints on that. They do keep me running. I've always got a load. As soon as I'm ready to drop a load off at the receiver, I've already got another load that's either been there already for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. Or if not, then, you know, within 20 minutes, I have something. So I don't sit idle for anything. I stay moving.
Yeah. I usually know what I'm going to do a week ahead. So
yeah, me
like
too.
I'm allowed to book 5 loads at a time. So I can pretty much plan my entire week.
Yeah, I'm booked right now till next Tuesday, and I like that, Tim. I like that a lot. Now, here's the thing about a dispatcher that everybody in trucking knows, but maybe we have people watching that's fascinated by this and just likes to learn whatever, you know. A dispatcher, I say it's the worst word in the English dictionary, but really, if you have a good dispatcher, there's nothing better. And I had one time. His name was Jack Brown. And he was the first dispatcher I ever had at Boyd Brothers. And I left there and went to Avery Express for 3 years, and then or for 5 years. And then I went back to Boyd, and I told him the only way I'd come back was to come back with Jack again. And Jack was, it was like working for your daddy, and your daddy was the greatest daddy ever. But I've also had some bad ones, Tim, and you know as well as I do, they can ruin you. They can absolutely make you or break you. And James seems to have one going in his favor right now, so that's a great thing. And James has got a good thing going he's kind of got a mix of what you and I do versus with a little bit, you know. He's a little bit company, he's a little bit owner-op, but he's got some freedom, and he can say, no, I really don't want to go to Jersey or to wherever. And they're not going to fire him. They're not going to write him up. They're not going to blackball him, you know. They're going to say, okay, well, let me see.
It really is a good company, and there's only just a little bit over 300 drivers here. And our terminal, there really isn't but maybe 25, 30 people that work in the whole company in operations part of the company that I've seen. And anything that needs done to the truck, like you said, with the maintenance and stuff, we take it to the yard, and the Peterbilt dealership, which all of our trucks are Peterbilts. There's a few Kenworths in there too, but most of them are Peterbilts. The Peterbilt dealership comes to our yard Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, does all the maintenance to our trucks right there at our yard. If something's major needs to be done, they take it right next door to the Peterbilt dealership, and that's how they get everything done. They don't even have any mechanics at our yard. Everything's done straight by the Peterbilt dealership. Everything.
Yeah.
Is anybody else noticing Chris's mic is got a
scratching?
It's got a cracking noise in it. I thought it was maybe my internet.
You know what that might be, guys? Let me fix that real quick. You just have to bear with me. Ain't none of us on here trying to look pretty, are we?
I don't know about you. You speak for yourself.
Yeah, mine comes naturally.
Now we can't hear you at all, Chris. But hey, James, you know, and that's kind of the reason why I wasn't a big dispatch friend, is because I always hated it whenever it was time to go home, and they're always pestering you. Well, I can get a load here, and they can get you a load anywhere but near your home. But then other times they can get you pinpointed places, you know. And
Right.
so I was wondering if you had any of that problem where they're like, well, can you run just maybe another day? Can I give me a day or two and I'll get you there? Are you
Okay.
hearing that?
No, here's what happens with home time here. So I started, and again, I've looked for a company to come to call it home. And so far, I think this is it. I mean, I think this is the place to be for me. But going back to your home time, I started on May 15th, so just not quite a month yet, but almost. I'm on my way home again. I say home, but I'm not going to go home this time. But he offered to send me home because I had a load that was going to Florida, and I'm not going home. But the company policy is, as long as you let them know within 7 days of when you want to go home, they guarantee you that they will send you home. It might be a day or two before, but one thing that they stress is they make sure you get home. Now, obviously, if it's an emergency or something like that, they're going to do their best to get you home as quickly as possible. Now, I will tell you, the last time I went home, I gave him a 4-day notice, and he still got me home on time. So
All
there's
right.
no
That's pretty
issues
good.
with that I've heard.
Pretty good. Can y'all hear me now, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still got that rattle.
I had
still
to
got
plug
that.
up here. The battery died on my headset. I didn't realize I'd been on the phone that much today, but I guess I had.
We're at the hour mark. Are you good to stay on, or do you need to go?
Yeah, I'm going to stay with you a few minutes. I'm not tight on delivery today. I try to book. This is another thing I like about this owner op stuff, which I guess a dispatcher could do the same thing, but they never did for me. Uh, when I was a company driver, if they had open receiving 7 to 4, the dispatcher wouldn't tell me that. He'd always put 7 a.m. in there because he wanted me to run hard, get it there, and get another one. You know, most of the loads I book's 24-hour window on the front end, 24, 48-hour on the back end. I'm never pushed, but when freight gets tight like this, sometimes I'll take a live load or a live unload if it pays good. And sometimes those are on set appointments. And so right now I'm on a set appointment at 1 o'clock Thursday, 3 loads from now. And I got about 1 extra hour for ignorance between here and there to make that 1 o'clock appointment. So it's kind of funny to be rushing on Tuesday for 1 o'clock Thursday, but that's kind of the crap we have to do when freight's bad, you know?
Yeah. So let's grab a comment or two real quick. He says that at Dart he was lucky to bring in 600 a week. It was ridiculous. The planners there were no help at all. I did a little better than that at Dart. I can tell you this week I've only done 1 load here so far, and I'm on my second one now. They pay after every load, but I believe it was 850 something miles, and I took home $1,111. Now I do have a truck payment that'll come out of that, but that's not for a full week. I picked it up on Friday and delivered it on Monday, and was even able to squeeze a 34-hour break in there. So I was pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Especially in this economy.
I don't want to make it doom and gloom where nobody wants to do what we do, but I will tell you this, and I feel confident in saying this. You don't want to get an SFI truck and go to USA or Snyder or JB Hunt in this market. You just don't want to do that. There's too much risk for too little a gain. I would highly discourage that. Now, if you could take that truck from day one to F2F or to Landstar or to Mercer, you could do better than what us are doing at these mega carriers. And we could talk all night about some reasons for that. But I would not recommend. I would highly use my time on here to discourage anybody from getting an SFI truck and going to JB Hunt, Snyder, USA. It's just there's no margin for error in this market. And just to tell you how sensitive and how serious it is, we do all dropping hooks, okay? And I'm like Tim. I book my loads a week at a time, ahead of time, okay? All it takes to screw the best I can do this week's $2,000 to the bank, okay, after everything. All it takes to ruin my week is to go to one customer and drop a load, and there not being empty there. And I just lost $1,000 right off of my pocket because I cannot go recover a trailer. I have run 2 different times. I spent 11 hours a day. I did that 2 days in 2 different weeks just to get a trailer. I have a buddy who dropped in Tulsa Saturday morning. They ran him all over Oklahoma and Kansas all day long Saturday. Never did get a trailer. Went there, the trailer wasn't there. Went there, 2 trailers was loaded that they sent him 2 different places. He was 2:30 Sunday afternoon getting a trailer. Now to put that in English, that cost that man $2,000 because he lost 2 loads. Now, our pay period ends at midnight on Saturday night. So what that means in English is that instead of him making $2,000 on that week, he made $1,000. On the next week, instead of making $2,000, he made $1,000. Now, God forbid that that happened to you twice in 1 week. You now got a 0. If you go pick up an empty trailer and it's got 2 flats on it and they're off the rim, or one of them is where you can't air it up yourself with a hose and you have to call breakdown, you just lost a load. You just lost $1,000 for the week. I touch 12 to 15 trailers a week. Do I need to do the math for you and explain to you what the risks are to me that I'm going to lose a load when I touch 12 to 15 trailers a week? The odds are against me. The odds are against me.
That sounds like Swift during Christmas time.
That's what I was going to say. It happened to me twice at Swift. I drove over 400 miles looking for empties.
If you
he's happy working for JB Hunt for sure, right?
If you had a truck like Todd had with the Volvo that's paid for, this ain't a big issue. If you had a truck that you bought from somebody that, let's say your truck payment was $1,000 a month, this ain't a big issue. My truck payment is $4,200 a month. There is no margin for error. There is no margin for error. So, and I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not bashing on JB Hunt. I'll name them all. JB Hunt, Snyder, Prime. If you think these companies give a flying crap that your family didn't get a paycheck this week, I got some oceanfront property I'll sell you up in Northeast Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
That's great.
They don't care.
It's not the market right now to pay that kind of money a month for sure.
I would highly discourage it. You want to try you want to dabble in the lease op thing, you might want to go try what James is doing.
Yeah, and if you're paying what he's paying, then you better pay SFI the $3,500 so you can move somewhere where you can make more money. Hey, I think we forget sometimes that Todd's running a show here, so you want to get some more of your questions off there, buddy?
Oh yeah, we probably ought to rattle off a few. Some of them have been waiting 40 minutes for a response.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Let's see.
I can't see the comments on my screen, Todd.
My good friend Joe Wentz at Project TV said, good evening from the open road. I've been a company driver for years. Love to hear different views about lease purchase. Very interesting. They're still having a side discussion about lease operators making $1,500 to $2,200 a week. He's a company driver running local. I would say it just depends on. Also, you got to remember that driving habits, like, for example, Chris goes home every weekend, and there's going to be some other drivers that do that. Not everybody is going to be out here running super hard. Truck efficiency has a ton to do with it, and there's just a lot of factors that go into that.
But let me say this about going home, Todd. You know, at Swift, I stayed out 3 and 4 weeks at a time because I like to run out west. You can't run out west with JB Hunt, okay? You just can't go west of Kansas City, period. Now, I did take one load to Phoenix, and I had to set an extra day out there because I couldn't get a load back, but it was only one day. But I don't choose to go home with JB Hunt every weekend. If I could stay out and make an extra 1,000 or extra 500, I would stay out. But the problem is with where I live and with the customers and the freight base that they run or that they show us that we can run, it doesn't behoove me to go to stay out. I might as well take that 34 at home because I'm going to have to take it somewhere in a truck stop, and I'd just soon take it at home. Now, if I could stay out, let's say I'm going home this weekend. I have a load booked from Statesville, North Carolina, up to Cincinnati, and then I'm going to bounce home from there. Okay, but let's say that a load pops up in the next couple of days that picks up down in Statesville, North Carolina area Friday, and let's say it goes to, let's say it's a 1,200 mile run and it pays me $2,500. Okay, you can bet I'm going to jump all over that, and we'll worry about going home another time. I'm an opportunist. If there's a load pops up on Thursday or Friday that I can switch a load out and make some money, but what I'm telling you is if it's going to be the same money, I'm going home, and that's kind of where that stands.
So Potato says that he's paid hourly and makes the same without the headache. I would tell you that depends where you live. That might be possible in certain markets, but it's not going to be possible everywhere. You couldn't make that much in Lubbock, for example.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's grab a couple more of these. So a question for James. Christensen runs red Peterbilts?
Yes, that's correct. They're red with black fenders.
They're pretty trucks. I like them.
Oh, that's a nice looking truck.
Here's
what's the governor set at for that, James?
I'm sorry?
Sorry. What's the governor set at on those, if you don't mind me asking?
It's kind of a secret, but they say 75, but I don't think mine is. I can say that. But I'm not that guy that drives fast. I'm a 60 mile per hour guy everywhere. That way I can get 11, 12 miles a gallon, because all that does is just put money into my pocket.
Well, Todd knows why I'm asking, because that's one of the things that me and him have talked about. If you can't run a certain speed, you're not really an owner-op, are you?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can easily do 75 in these trucks, easily.
Well, the main thing, to be fair to those of us, we forget sometimes that everyone that watches this show is not doing what we're doing. You really just want to have enough to get by all these 64 and 65 mile an hour company trucks that want to clog up the left lane and the center lane and whatever. We're not out here, none of us is out here trying to run 90 mile an hour. You know, we just need to be able to, if you got a 65 mile an hour truck and Prime's got a 64 mile an hour truck, they keep holding traffic up and you can't get anywhere, and it takes you 3 days to pass them. You might as well just get behind them and follow them.
But I can tell you, not to cut you off, but I had a 70 mile an hour truck, and now I've got a 68 mile an hour truck, and I still have problems passing them because they have these stupid sensors on these trucks that back you down and back you down. I had a 66. If I go and I can see because I got a speedometer, or on my speedometer, it shows me how fast the truck is running in front of me.
Yeah.
If they're running 66 or 67, I just go on ahead and follow them, because it'll take me 20 minutes to pass them.
And some of these companies too, Tim, they got a thing on their truck, and I don't know how it works because I've never had one, but their truck will be governed at 64 or 65, but they'll have their truck computer set where they can run 2 hours a day at 72, or they can run up to 5 minutes at a time at 72, and they'll sit there on 64 till you get out there to pass them, and then they'll stomp it down on the foot just to mess with you, so you can't get around them, you know. So it is nice to have a 100 mile an hour truck. You can just smash it down and wave at them and go on by, you know.
Yeah, 75 is decent. So James, if they can run 75, because that's the only thing I need it for. I just want to get out, get around, get back over, out of the way, and I want to run down the road at 68 miles an hour. That's 65 to 68 miles an hour is what I like to run. But, you know, you get behind these trucks running 66 and 65, and like he said, it's exactly what they do. As soon as you go to pass them, then they put their foot on the pedal, and all of a sudden they're running 2 and 3 miles over just to keep you on that side. But anyway, go ahead, Todd.
We got one for James here. That 43 cent a mile deal sounds pretty good, better than what I've got now.
It actually is a great deal. Like I said, I did some hard searching for this company, and actually Todd is the one that kind of hooked me up with this company when we went to the truck show. Just did some talking, a little negotiating, and here I am. It's knock on wood, it's been good for the last 30 days.
And here's one that'll be, I guess, for Tim. I attended USA orientation back in 2010, and they sent me to Dallas to pick up a truck that the AC didn't work, and it was over 100 degrees outside. They told me sometimes you have to suck it up and take the heat.
Again, here's the deal. It's what you settle for as a driver. Okay,
Yeah.
I've got. You either respect me or I don't work for your company. I have,
Right.
and here's why I can be that way.
Negotiation.
I've been driving trucks since January 2006. That's when I actually had my CDL, driving on my own, not with a trainer or anything like that. And I have got no accidents. I've got no tickets. I've got 100% CSA rating. So I can do and say and go to whatever company I want. If you don't have that ability, then you have to take what you get and suck it up. But I don't have to do that. So if you're a good truck driver and you maintain and you do what you have to do, I'm not saying there's not mistakes out there. I'm not getting on to Todd or like that. People have things that happen, but if you keep pretty good rating, you can pretty much go where you want. So just keep that in mind. But to answer that that driver's question, the problem that you had is you worked for USA Truck before 2018, 2019. They're a completely different company than they were. So I would, if you liked working there, but you didn't like their equipment, or you're wondering about getting another company, I can vouch for them. They're a good place to go as a company driver. Do not come here as an IC. You will, and even the recruiters won't tell you this, but even the office staff, the dispatchers, and the people that are there at the training facility will tell you don't come here as an IC. But anyway, go ahead, Todd.
All right, let's throw another one in. This one will kind of go to everybody. I like the no risk. I live in Arizona. Any restrictions on where your home is?
Yes.
So okay, what are the restrictions?
Well, I'll give you, for instance, you can't live in Arizona, and keep in mind I don't represent Snyder or JB Hunt, but you can't live in Arizona and work for Snyder or JB Hunt. I can speak to those two, and all their freight is east of 35. That don't mean we don't have a load going to Phoenix, but you may go to Phoenix and may not get out, or you may have to deadhead all the way back to Texas. Now Swift had some things that I liked, and Todd, you've been there, and James, you've been there. Y'all can contradict me if you see it different, but I like the customer base at Swift. And Swift's got West Coast freight, and I ran out there all the time. That's one of the things I liked about Swift. And 9 times out of 10, you could drop a Swift trailer at a customer, a loaded trailer, and you could spit on 4 shippers from where you sat. I mean, they had a ton of customers, and I never had a bad experience at one of their customers. I don't know what Swift's, Todd, do you know what Swift's hiring practice is? I mean, I can tell you they have freight out there.
Yeah, they had 11 states where they wouldn't hire in.
Right.
Was Arizona one of them?
No.
No, because that's where their headquarters is. They'll hire Arizona people, but pretty much the blue states that you would think of, California, Oregon, the Northeast.
Washington.
There was a lot of states up there. Yeah, Washington, Illinois. There was any state that might be considered an AB5 style legislation was off the hook.
Blue states, yeah. Hey Todd, I think they're still having problems with freight though, aren't they?
The guys I'm talking to over there are saying it's still pretty slow. Um, my friend John Toohey's in the comments. We may try to get him on next week and let him talk about it. As for the company I'm working for, they don't want you to live in California or Oregon. That's the only two states they don't want us to run to. And it's just because they're a small outfit. They may make
To answer that question, it's more that's going to be determined by whoever you want to work for, if as to where their freight goes. So there's probably a lot of companies that would hire you in Arizona. It's just going to depend on the company as to what their freight base is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, USA Truck
exactly.
company's not going to hire in Arizona. They're east of I-35 pretty much.
Yeah. Same thing with Snyder and JB.
I think that's going to be the same thing for Christensen too. They do have freight that goes out west, but it's like you said, I-35 is usually the border where they don't really do anything past.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about, for those that may not know, let's talk about for just a second why that is. You've got states that produce and you've got states that consume, okay? There's no freight. Now, we're not talking about reefer because nobody in here is pulling a reefer, okay? Outside of reefer, there's no freight coming from anywhere west of 35 except what comes in on the water, okay? So what that means in English is you got a lot of companies that will, if they can find a load to California, they love to run out to California because they know they can get a good pay. Well, it ain't good now, but it used to be good. You can get a good paying load coming off of one of the ports out there going back east, and those used to pay really good. I mean, when I first started here, I saw one on our load board that went from California to Jacksonville, Florida, paid me over $11,000. And so, you know, that's when we all say we got some West Coast freight, we're talking about a sporadic load here or there that might need to go out there, but most of it there on the West Coast is coming off the water.
All righty. Roger says hello. He waited 45 minutes. Thank you for being here, Roger. I hope you're still here. Let's see. Freight has been horrible here in North Dakota, but I still get my hours. Yeah, freight's always not been great in North Dakota, but I'm usually able to get in and out of there. Let's see what else we got here. Here's one for James.
I'm fixing to have to leave here. I'm fixing to have to leave here in a second.
Okay.
Todd, if anybody would do me a favor, they know how to get a hold of you, and you know how to get a hold of me. I would love to hear from a driver at Mercer Transportation. I'm doing some research on them, and I would love to talk to someone that either has driven for them or is driving for them. So if y'all would get with Todd, and Todd will get with me and hook us up, I would love to talk to you in the next few days if we could. Don't know that I'll go there, but that's one of the places on my list, as well as, of course, F2F.
Yeah, if any of you guys know anything about Mercer, holler at me. My email.
Tim, do you know anything about them?
No, sir. I was just saying, be safe. Have a good.
Yeah, I will,
ride.
and I appreciate it. And I hate to have to run on you guys, but like I said, I'm up against it on Thursday, and you know, I just don't. I don't want to have to cancel that load. It's not the end of the world. I cancel that load and get a different load. But I got my week set up where I'm going to have a decent week, and I need to keep that on track if I can. Todd, as always, buddy, I love you. I appreciate all you've done for me, man. You helped me at Swift. You've done so much for me, and it's been such a pleasure to meet James and become good friends with him. And Tim, maybe we can do lunch sometime if we're in the same area, man. And I just had a ball tonight, and if there's any questions concerning SFI or JB Hunt after I'm gone, Todd, if you'll just pass them on to me, I'll call the people, text them, email them, whatever I need to do. I'm just like you. I try to help people. I don't recruit. there's a lot of great things about Swift that I love, and there's a lot of great things about JB Hunt. It's just every job there comes a point in time where you have to ask yourself, does the good outweigh the bad? And you'll be there until the bad outweighs the good, and then you'll go somewhere else. And so everything about JB Hunt's not a bad place. And all these problems with the trailers and the flats and the manipulated load board and all this stuff, that's all magnified in a time like this when freight's bad. When freight's good and rates are good, that stuff don't matter as bad. You know, you can make, if you're making 3,500 to 4,000 a week take home, and you lose a load and you make 2,500 or even 2,000, it don't really bother most people. But when things are really, really tough and tight like they are right now, and you have a $4,200 a month truck payment, there's no margin for error. And so I don't want anybody to think that that I don't have good things to say about JB. I do. They just got some problems, and they're not interested in fixing them, or they can't fix them. Some of them.
10-4. And just so everybody knows, Todd, I've told you, everybody else, he knows my number. If he trusts you to give you, me to get his number or whatever, I'll talk to anybody about any company that I know about. So anyway.
And I'm going to continue to listen tonight, Todd. You just know I can't comment and drive. I can't be texting and driving.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
I understand,
buddy. Good to be with you guys, man. I appreciate all of you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. Go ahead with your
Chris
comments now.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He should. He may do it. This may inspire all of you guys to start your own channel. I know James has. He's just got to put some content up. Here's one for James. So if you take your lease truck to another company, will you still be on a full maintenance lease, or do they change the contract terms and conditions?
That's a question that somebody else has asked me, and I do not know the answer. I'm not even 100% for sure if it's even in the contract, but I did see in the contract we can take the truck. My personal opinion is I'm going to say no, but I don't know that answer. And the only reason I say no is because it really wouldn't benefit them at that point, in my opinion.
I see.
But I'll try to find that answer. I know he's on here all the time, OTR Vic. I'll try to find that answer out.
Yeah, maybe he can answer that on the Thursday night video.
Yeah.
Something like that. Let's see. I'm going to skip through some of these because they're having a private conversation about North Dakota. Oh gosh, I missed another one.
Your audio's going south now.
Somebody may have already got him.
There you are.
There you are. You're back now.
Who, me?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit. Yep.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. I'm almost to the next set. So somebody's asking, will you get your empty mile paid if you get mileage pay?
That's a big yes here. The first 50 miles of empty is on the driver, but after 50, so 51 miles and above, you get paid for. So if I do 125 miles, then I'll get 75 miles empty pay. And it's
I get all.
And how?
I get paid on all my miles.
Oh, that is good.
Yep, even on the load board. They like to keep us under 100 miles deadhead in between loads, but there's been times where I've been up to, because there's nothing in the area, I've been up to 150 mile deadhead, and I got paid for all the miles.
Joe says that the maintenance team at his company is terrible. Let's see. We can skip a lot of these. Somebody's asking again what company James drives under. He said Christensen Transportation out of Missouri. You can email me and I'll get you in contact with him. It's not to be confused with John Krishner. That's a totally different company. This is Christensen Transportation out of Stratford, Missouri. And like I said, just email me and I'll get you in contact with James. My good friend John Toohey is here. Thanks for coming in, John. I'm sorry it took me about 20 minutes to get to your comment. We're getting caught up. Oh, Chris has a lot of good information, and so it kind of took me a while to get to the comments. He was putting out a lot of good stuff. If that was to me, that's why I asked what the benefit of leasing was. Oh boy.
What's that mean?
Same here. He's answering David Jones, which
Okay.
was saying the statement about the paycheck was spot on. Basically, they're going to the argument that we're all getting ripped off doing leases, that they make more as company drivers, which I'm actually buying my truck from a dealership. It's technically a lease. I like to call it a lease purchase minus the company. I can take it to any company I want. The information to find out how to get a truck like I did is also in the ticker below the video. But I mean, I've had probably a dozen drivers call me and tell me they made more than me, and that were company drivers, and they don't. One of them, he made about 50% less than me, and we went week for week, and I beat him every single week. So, is there a company driver somewhere that makes more than me? Yeah, probably, but week in and week out, most of them don't. And even if they made the same as me, I'm going to have a truck at the end of my term, and they're not. So I'm building equity in something, and you have to take all that in mind. And also, there's some tax advantage as well. But I always tell people, don't do a lease for financial reasons. If that's why you're doing it, there's a chance you're not going to be happy, because just like there's a chance you can make more money, there's a chance you can make less money, and you need to. You need to do it for freedom. You need to do it because you've got a goal of truck ownership or something like that. It doesn't just need to be.
Everybody's deal is different. You know what I mean? They can't. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to comment on somebody else what they do, because, you have your own reasons to do what you do.
Yeah, and me and Todd have talked about this, and the fact of it all is in order to make the same money as I did when I was an IC running for company, number one, if you're not making good money, then you're not working. And I work, and I have to do probably 500 to 1,000 miles more as a company driver than what I made as an IC back in the day. Now, nowadays, like right now, it's a lot easier for a company driver to make as much, because the rates are just so god awful for ICs. But anyway,
as long as they have the freight, because just like what me and Todd dealt with, even the company drivers were sitting for days and days at a time because there was no. Well, they said there was no freight. I'm not so sure I really believe all that, but we would get that all the time. Don't have freight. Don't have freight. If it wasn't for those comments, honestly, I would probably still be at Swift. But I got tired of hearing the no freight stuff, and only getting 2,000, 2,200 miles a week, and those type of things. When you can do better, even in a down market like this, you can do better. One of the biggest companies in the world. And I'm not knocking on Swift. Just like Chris said, I liked everything about Swift. I liked their freight that they had. I liked their customers they had. I made a lot of money with Swift. But when you start getting, we just don't have freight where you're at. You're in a bad area. Atlanta is a bad area. Columbus, Ohio is a bad area.
That's why you want to have a load board, whether it's a glorified load board or like Todd's got, because then you decide if there's freight or not. But go along with what you said, Todd, 100%. If I'm going to go back to IC, number one, it's not going to be just for money. It's mostly going to be freedom and being able to do what I want to do. And I'm definitely not going to get dispatched unless I find out that, like James said, you got a dispatcher that actually will let you kind of help pick and choose and give you some options, things like that, and not just say, well, this is what you're getting and this is where you're going. So anyway, go ahead, buddy.
We've got one from Manny. I think this is for James. This is one of my friends too. Does Christensen make leases in all states, or is it like some other companies who are not accepting people out of some blue states like New Jersey?
Yeah, I New Jersey's a state that I would give them a call because I don't think it really has anything to do like what Swift does with AB5. It's just certain states they do not hire out of just because of the freight issue. It has nothing to do with the blue states or the AB5. But I would give them a call
All
or
righty.
give me a call.
And nobody's asked this yet, so we'll go ahead and answer it. I'm still not revealing where I've gone to work. I'm only on my second load with them, so maybe in a few months we'll talk about it, or in a couple of months. But I'm not going to reveal where it's at this point. And it's a small company that I know I've had like three of you that suggested this company to me, but a lot of people would know who it was if I told you anyway. So at some point we'll discuss it, but just not yet. Let's see here. I thought Snyder was an all 48 state company. Well, he's already gone, but yeah, they still have hiring areas. Lubbock, for example, is not in JB Hunt's hiring area, nor is Schneider unless you're willing to run team. And that
I used to
information's
work
as
for
of a.
Schneider.
Oh, did you?
Sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you ended there. I worked for Schneider, and they used to hire out of all 48 states, and a lot of companies did back in the day. But I think they're a lot more picky now because of freight and stuff like that. So I would call Schneider and check with them if you live in one of those states that are hard to get hired from. But I know that there are some states that they probably would not hire out of.
Okay, let's. Here we got confirmation. Yes, freight is still slow at Swift. Um, and of course, Chris is already gone. But if Super Trucker Dan is leased on to Mercer, please email me at todd@truckertodd.net so I can get you in contact with Chris. And yeah, his audio got bad there at the end. We're catching up slowly. We're about 20 minutes or 15 minutes behind now. Yeah, 4,200. That's a tough truck payment. But he's doing it, but not making not making what he used to. All right, I'm not sure what's going on. I got some issues here. I may have to take care of. Um, well, I don't know what's going on. My truck said my battery was low, but the APU's running and my volts is at 13.1. So I guess we're okay for now. If my lights go
CIA
dead, y'all
tweet
know
for
what
you.
happened. Yeah, yeah. I've been hacked. It's Russian collusion. Toddy said, thank you. Hey, Todd, I found out through HireRight nothing is on my DAC report as Swift had said there was. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's weird. Maybe they typed in some information wrong. You'd have to contact them and see, but I would print that out and maybe see if you could show it to somebody there and get it fixed. Never know what happened there.
I used to have a
James, what do you
tri-pack,
get?
Todd, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
$1.25 a mile.
Oh, I was just going to
Okay.
say I used to have a tri-pack, and I know sometimes when it goes to start up, a lot of time, I don't know if it did for you or not, but if it does, sometimes it'll say the battery's low right before it starts up.
That may have been what happened. I thought it was running, but there's like a tri-pack on both sides of me. So I'm not sure if I'm hearing mine or theirs. Let's see here. We're almost caught up, and then we can go for. I'm a lease operator. The company itself doesn't care whether you have a check. You have to be diligent and work with your planner or dispatcher to ensure you have freight. Yeah, it's JB Hunt, for example, used to be accused of that. That people used to say that they would give you just enough miles to pay for the truck, but not make any money. I don't know if companies really do that. They want to retain drivers, but I think they do spread it around, and I think Swift was guilty of this. I think they would, they'd make sure that James got 2,000 or 2,200 miles. They'd make sure Todd got 2,000 or 2,200 miles, but they didn't want anybody to excel, because what's the first thing a driver wants to do when they excel? Go home and take time off. So they wanted
Yep.
to keep you just above broke, so that you had to keep running, had to keep working, and you
See,
might cancel some home time.
that's such a true statement, because with Swift, you had to be somewhere between, depending, 1,600, 1,800 miles to break even. And anything above that is what you got paid. So at 2,200 miles, you're bringing home $800 to $1,100 a week. And that's what you're exactly right. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, it's and they even gave me an example of it. They said that they had two guys in Washington State, and they had a good load. This was a planner that told me this at Swift. They had a good load that was going from there to like Chicago area. And they looked at the profits of both of those drivers, and one of them had had a really good week, and one of them had been in the hole. So they gave the load to the guy that had been in the hole to try to break him even, instead of giving it to the guy that was there first that would have already had a good week. And to me, that's de-incentivizing the guy that's been working hard, when you tell him, we know you were here first, but we're going to give it to this other guy because he hasn't been doing well.
I was a dispatcher, Todd, so I can tell you that some of that stuff goes on. And it's, I wouldn't blame your dispatcher or yell at your dispatcher, because they're human and they got a job to do. Unfortunately, companies have higher ups that tell the dispatcher what to do. They don't have full authority. So, and I'm sure you already know this, but some people might not. I've heard drivers screaming about their dispatcher. The dispatcher hates me. The dispatcher does that. Dispatcher does that. Well, I didn't hate any of my drivers, but I had to get approval for everything. And sometimes you give loads to one driver and not another for various reasons, but it's not the dispatcher's choice. There's people above them.
I was kind of torn when he told me that story, because I appreciated that they were showing compassion for the guy that had been in the hole. But the free market capitalist in me hated that the guy that had ran his business well and worked hard got screwed out of a load for it. So I kind of could see both sides of it. And Tati is agreeing with us. Yes, they do. I appreciate that. I think we're caught up on the comments. So anything y'all want to talk about, I'm game. I don't know how long y'all can stay tonight.
I can stay as long as you want. I'm on a 34-hour reset. What about you, James?
I'm good to go till 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
However long we have a crowd and anybody has good questions,
Well, since y'all are both here, I'll bring it up. Everybody hit the the thumbs up for me, please. That helps out. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed so that you receive notifications when these videos come out. We're going to try to do another one of these next week with different people. The problem is getting people when they're not driving, and knowing people a week in advance where they're going to be next week. It worked out good this week, but we'll just have to see what I can get put together for next week. Let's see here. When I was at Swift and was new, they tried to keep me under the promise money. I told my driver lead I wanted miles, not promise money. Yeah, I'll bet when you're on the promise money, there's not a shortage of loads, because they know they're going to have to pay you, and I bet they run the dog out of you. But I don't know. That may just be me. That just may be my cynicalism. I don't know.
Well, I got a question for James. Sorry, okay. Go ahead. Go with your question. No, go with your question.
Dart wanted to loan me a boatload of money. Did you take it?
Dude, I would have taken it.
Take it and run.
That's right.
Run fast. All right, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, sorry about that. Your viewers come first, so I know that's important to you. That's why I kept trying to get back to you so you could get caught up there, buddy. But James, I wanted to know, and if you don't want to say, hey, well, I won't be offended. you said right around that 2,800 sweet spot is what you like to be at. If you don't mind, give us a rough estimate of what that is for you as far as take home.
Okay, so 25 to 2,800, you're anywhere between $1,800 and $2,200, and 2,800 miles would probably be $2,200.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that's not bad for IC right now. Right now,
no,
that's actually really good.
a good like when I was at Swift, and me and Todd have talked about this. When I was at Swift, I was about 48% of gross. So meaning if I had a $5,000 week, then I was bringing home just a little bit under $2,500. Same thing here, man. But here, I think my percentages are a little bit higher. I think I'm sitting at about 51, 52%, maybe 53, depending. And I think that variable truck payment has a lot to do with it too. Obviously, when I get closer to the 2,800 mark, I think my percentages might go down a little bit. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I think my percentages might go down a fraction of an inch with that.
And just to speak to the company side of it, so people that are listening saying company and I can make just as much as a company driver, which I'm not saying nobody's lying. It's just real hard to believe because I didn't do it when I was a company compared to when I was an IC. Now the times have changed, so that could be now how things are. But I roughly am about 44 to 46%, and that's them. That's paying my my health insurance. That's paying my my legal because I got the legal plan, and then taxes and stuff that come out. I'm bringing home roughly 44 to 46% of the miles that I make. So I'm running average anywhere, depending on if I go home. On the weeks I go home, I'm running about 1,800 to 2,200 miles. Because I got a home, I stay out a month and I'm home for 3 or 4 days, sometimes 5. And then when I'm out the 3, 4, 5 weeks, then I'm averaging 3,000, 2,800 to 3,200 miles. I've had better, I've had worse, but that's for the most part. It stays right around roughly around 2,800 to 3,000 miles a week. So. I'm bringing home anywhere, like I said earlier, I'm bringing home anywhere from, 900, 1,000, up to 1,400, 1,500, just depending on how good the week is,
Yeah, that's not bad for a company driver, and again, it all comes to, what's important to you. What are you happy making? What are you happy doing? Me personally, I would never go back to being a company driver. Now, I'm not saying never, but if I had my choice, I would never do it again just because of the freedom and also, the purchase of buying the vehicle too. I mean, when you have the asset, it makes things a little bit differently. Plus, if you're seeing it at your company, you take care of the property a little bit better. I mean, you're noticing that other drivers are taking care of stuff a little bit better. The 2 trucks that I turned in at Swift, they leased them right away. Both of them are back in use. I mean, pretty much after, a cleaning, they're ready to go. I kept them both up.
Okay, let's so just to answer everybody's question, Dennis said he did not take the money and run. I would have I'd have said, "Yep, I need $5,000," and I would have ran. It's talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When I went back over there, it was awesome for like the first 6 or 7 months, and then it went to their head, and they started making all these changes, and we don't have any loads, and we don't know where our trailers are, and it was like a totally different company. Now, having said that, I still like them, and under the right circumstances, I might work for them again. It's kind of hard to imagine right now because I'm at a really good place right now, and I really like the guy I'm working for and his family, and so I don't see me going anywhere else anytime soon. And if anything, I probably gonna bring some of my friends over here before too long. And Brian talking to, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, rebut to what James was saying. I was local for 8 years, and then I did a year and a half of dispatching. So when I came back out on the road, my plan was leasing or whatever I could figure out how to be an IC again. But when I got to looking at it and seeing what the market was doing, and I was smart. I guess I'm just smarter than I think I am, but I started back October of 2021, and it was still that people were still making pretty good money at that time. And something told me that things were switching out. I just had a gut feeling because I had been an owner op for so long. I could see the trend start to dive. And Colton talks about this. Trucker CFO talks about this. How you watch the rating and how much freight is being denied by these companies. And I started seeing that swing pattern going on, and I thought, well, I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, but I'm going to see if I can find the only reason why I became a company driver is they had a load board for company. I checked. I would never went to USA Truck if it would have been a dispatch. I would have went and worked for somebody, a private company, small company, things like that. So just wanted to say, I get what you're saying. If I had to do it all over again, I'm going to go IC. But at this present moment, with the freight the way it is right now and the market the way it is, I just can't pull the trigger and then all of a sudden get into a truck and then find out 3 months later I wish I'd have never done it, if that makes any sense. I'm waiting until I can see that trend start moving up, and then I'm going to start seeing what's out there and where I can go. And me and Todd will definitely be talking at that point. For sure.
All right. Well, I can say from my limited experience back on the load board. Of course, I was doing it at F2F also for my limited time there. You can still find good loads on there. Like when I remember being in Midland, I found 2,500 loads. Now, 85% of them were awful. But if you dig around on there, you can find some good stuff. But it does take a lot longer. Like when I was at Dart, I could find stuff quick, 10 or 15 minutes. Now I might have to spend 45 minutes or an hour and a half looking to find that one good load, but I can find it. And I might have to refresh and catch it as soon as it comes up because I'm not the only guy on there that's picky and looking for good loads. But I've done okay so far. This load I'm on's decent. My next one I got booked after this is decent. So it can be done, but it is challenging right now.
Are they negotiating, Todd? Or are they pretty much being sticklers about the rates right now? The reason why I ask is because normally, like you said, it's easy to jump on and get a load when you were with Dart. When I was with companies back in those good days, I didn't have to fight too much with other drivers to get loads. Now, if you're telling me there's a few loads to choose from, you're probably fighting with a bunch of other drivers negotiating what they're going to pay you.
Yeah, and they're all cutting each other's throats to see who can haul it to the cheapest. It's a race to the bottom. I would say that it's like always. Some of the brokers will negotiate, some of them won't. One of my loads, I was able to bump them a little bit, like a couple $100. But some of them, they're just like, nope, this is what it pays, take it or leave it. And they've got guys. I mean, there's loads on there right now. And if my editing skills was better, I'd screen share and show you. I'd block out the broker names and I'd show you. There's loads on there for $1.23 a mile. And why guys would take a load for $1.23 a mile? Now keep this in mind for folks that's never done this. That's before you give your 20% or 25%, or in some cases 35%, depending on what company you're with. So you're sub dollar a mile by the time you get done. And keep this in mind, that's all in. That's, it's not like Swift where you get a fuel surcharge on top of that. That's an all-in rate, and guys are lining up for it. So why would the broker go up if guys are willing to work for free or at a loss?
And Trucker CFO pointed that out, Todd, and I know that me and you have talked about it, and I'm sure everybody knows it, but just to reiterate it, it's a lot of rookie drivers that didn't know what they were doing, got in the business, paid too much for their trucks, and now they're scared to death to lose money, so they're taking whatever they can get. And if they just knew the market and had a little bit of, did a little research, they'd find out that if they held out a little bit, yeah, they might be backed up one truck payment or something. But these brokers would have to pay you if guys would just say enough's enough. I'm not running for less than $1.50, and I'm not saying that $1.50 is good. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay the $1.23 a mile because you're gonna have some Yahoo out there that says, "Oh, okay, I'll take it just because I want to make my truck payment. I don't care if I buy my kid milk, but if I can pay my truck payment, I don't get behind." And that's just what's ruining the market right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Here's another one. Hey guys, going to bed, getting up at 4 a.m. All right, Dennis, have a good night. And Gary says, am I getting mileage or percentage? I'm doing an 80-20 split, but it's not a normal 80-20 split. In his 20%, he covers a lot of your overhead, like your ELD and stuff like that. So, and he's got several programs to choose from. We'll go more in depth on that stuff when I reveal where it's at later on, if I decide to do that. But yeah, right now the short answer is I'm on an 80-20 split. All right, sorry to interrupt, guys. Go back ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you didn't interrupt, man. Viewers come first. Cut us off if they put something up there, they come first. So
yeah, get your viewers up there.
They're good right now. It's kind of slowing down a little bit. They may. I got the older crowd. We all go to bed at 7:30 p.m.
Hey, where's Freight Shaker been? I mean, not Freight Shaker, RT Shaker. Where's he been?
He usually drives on Tuesday nights, so he doesn't. He's usually listening in the background, but not able to text, or he'll watch on the replay. We get so like during the show, we usually have a couple hundred people that'll come in and out, and then within the first 24 hours, because of the replay, we usually get about 600 or so. And then sometimes it goes up from there. It just depends on the topic. I think this one will do real good because it has a lot of different viewpoints here. But,
yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt you earlier when you were talking about Joe Wentz, but or put his comment up there. But man, I tell you what, between you and him, two genuine people. And if I know you wouldn't mind me saying this, but go give Joe Wentz Project TV some love, guys. He really plays the heck out of that guitar, and I love the music. Even if you don't like what music he plays to, just the man's got some talent, and he's just really a good man. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know him through Todd. And he's just an all-around great guy, and he could use some love on YouTube.
I like his videos that he does when he goes to the guitar store. You wouldn't think that would be interesting, but it really is. It's kind of fun to watch. His videos are well produced, and I wish he'd bring back his trucker series, but I can't win that argument. I really like those too. But yeah, when he goes to the guitar stores, those are pretty good too. And he's here still. I didn't know he was still here. He said that he would love to talk to Tim sometime. So maybe I can get you two in contact.
Absolutely. Hey, Todd, I've told you before, if you ever need somebody to talk to on the road, my phone is always on silent when I'm sleeping. Nobody will ever. I mean, I don't want Yahoos calling me, I want you to be careful. You know who to give my number to and who not to, but you won't ever interrupt me because my phone's on silent when I don't want to talk. So.
Oh yeah, Joe's as good as they get. I'd like to bring him back on the show. He was scheduled to come on when we had the accident, and so he didn't get to come on. But next time he has some vacation or some time off, we'll try to get him back on the show. And he says, wow, thank you so much, Tim.
Yeah, I ain't missed one of his videos or lives since. I mean, I haven't always been there right on time, but I haven't missed one since you turned me on to him, because he's just, and you know this, Todd, about me. I look at people for genuineness. That's what turned me on to you. You're a person that's really on here for the right reasons, and so is Joe. And you can't get enough. I'm always going to support people that are actually out there doing things for the right reasons, and so that's why I support y'all.
I appreciate that. Let's see. Let's grab a couple of more. American Trucker says he's a little late catching this, but good evening, Todd. American Trucker, if you get a chance, go back and watch the whole video. James is also at the same company as you are, and he revealed a lot of good information about it. It's probably stuff that you already know, but maybe you can provide some clarification in future videos. There was a couple of things we didn't know, like if you take the truck to another company, if the maintenance continues. I don't know if you'd know the answer to that. You remember what one of the other questions was, James?
I don't off the top of my head, but if my memory serves me correct, he's a company driver, isn't he?
That I don't know.
I'm pretty
That
sure
I
he's a
don't.
company driver. He might not know the answers, but if he does, please, by all means, come forward. I've only been here 30 days, so.
Yeah, people
Man,
were asking, Todd. I know what it was. People were asking what states that they hired in.
Yeah, maybe he'll have some knowledge on that. We had a lot of people that were interested in Christensen. I might bring both of y'all on in a future episode, or get somebody from the office of Christensen and answer a lot more questions. A lot of people were definitely interested in your company tonight. Definitely, Joe Wentz is a great guy and has a great channel. Yep, I agree. And American Trucker said, yeah, he's a company driver. He says they hire in all 48. I don't know if that's still the case, because I remember talking to them at Matt's, and they didn't really like that I lived in Lubbock, but they said they might consider me hiring there. So I'm thinking they might have some areas they don't hire out of, but I don't know for sure. Good friend Michael Canvas is, man, I can't pronounce your last name. Cabanis is here. Good to have you, man. Leave everybody's information up there for a minute. What else have y'all got for tonight? We're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and we'll probably
James,
wrap it
where are
up
you
here
out
pretty
of,
quick. I
buddy?
still got to drive.
I'm out of Florida. I live about 45 minutes east of Orlando.
Sorry about that, Todd. I got a little bit of a delay. I think I didn't realize you were still talking. Apologize.
That's
Uh-oh. Lost him again.
Losing your audio again, Todd.
there. Yeah, it's letting me click on his comment. And Michael says that'll work. I don't know why. There it goes. Yeah, I knew my internet was going to be sketchy. It was raining, and I guess the guy that was beside me left, and another guy's backing in. I'm making sure he don't hit my mirror. I'm paranoid about that.
I am too, man. I can't go to sleep a lot of times until I got trucks on either side of me.
Yeah, I finally got a good truck again, and I'm like, oh, that's all I need is somebody to take out a mirror or something.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm in
see,
Indiana, so I'm in northern Indiana if anybody wants to know.
Okay. Do you have brokers that your company won't let you use? The answer is yes. There's an app we use to check the credit ratings of the company, and you type in their MC number, and it'll tell you if they are a company that pays their bills or not. And I've only ran across a couple of companies that didn't qualify, but yeah, obviously the big names are safe, but some of the little ma and pa companies, you want to run them through that app and make sure they're legitimate. Okay, what else?
James, are you required to use their fuel card, or are you able to get like what Todd's got his fuel card, or what? How are they with fuel?
Well, you can use your own fuel card, but I wouldn't advise you doing it because honestly, their discounts that they get beats that fuel card. Because I have the same fuel card, the ES Advantage card that I used at
Right.
Swift, and I look almost all the time, and believe it or not, their discounts here is 20 to 30, sometimes even more cents cheaper to use their card. So it doesn't make sense to even use an outside fuel card. Plus, we get a
Okay.
fuel surcharge too to go along with it. So basically, I don't pay anything for fuel.
And are they paying percentage or mileage there?
It's all mileage, $1.25.
Oh, we lost them.
Yeah, it's $1.25 a mile plus the fuel surcharge. But the deal about them,
There
they
he is.
pay it on. Oh, okay, he's back. Sorta.
Yeah.
They pay it on empty miles too after 50 miles. So you eat the first
Gotcha.
50 empty miles, and then they pay it on that too.
So he's basically, 70, 80 cents a mile, and then he still has to pay fuel and other things. Is that kind of where we're looking?
Well, he was at. I think he said his fuel surcharge was like 34 or 36 cents this week, and then you'd add that on to the $1.25. I'm gonna bring him back in. All right,
Okay.
there's James.
Got a
Maybe he can
call. Sorry
answer.
about that.
That's
The
right.
fuel card, to me, I think here is better because, like I said, 20 to 30 cents more savings than what ES Advantage even has.
All right. And then we were
Robbie,
talking about the mileage pay.
$1.25 a mile, loaded and empty. Like I said, the first 50 miles of empty is on you. Anything above that, you get paid for. And then last week, the fuel surcharge was 38 cents, I believe, a mile.
so that puts you at like $1.60 something a mile, something like that.
$1.62, $1.63, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And then the 40, you paying the what is it, 43 cents a mile or something like that, you
43
said,
cents
and
a
then
mile. Yep.
and then
43 cents a mile.
and then you're paying your fuel.
Yep.
And then your taxes.
Yep.
All right. And then is there anything else over top of that? I mean, all the insurance and everything's covered under the maintenance money, right?
Well, that's your fixed cost. The insurance and all that, it's $207 a week is what your fixed costs are. That's your insurance, the ELD, all the things that they charge for.
Oh, okay. So we're only a couple cents a mile then for that.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I'm getting paid, if I figured it out correctly, I'm probably bringing home anywhere between 80 cents to $1 a mile, depending on, what's going on, and also that variable truck payment, because obviously the more miles you drive, the higher the truck payment is, and that's when your percentages start going down. So I think the sweet spot, like I said, is between 25 and 2,800 miles.
Gotcha. All right.
Robbie says, pleasure listening to y'all. Had another crummy meal at Denny's. Good night. I had several crummy meals at Denny's. I took a 34-hour break and I had all the Denny's I want for a lifetime.
I like their skillets now. The like the Cajun skillet and stuff. Those are actually pretty good, and their breakfasts are good. Anything else, I'll pass.
Well, you look at the picture and the menu and it looks good, and then you get your food and it looks like a TV dinner. It's bad, 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 bad. Anyway, Gary Cook says he just applied for his ES Advantage fuel card. Yeah, James says he gets better discounts with Christensen, but I've had really good luck with my ES Advantage card. And this company I'm with now, they use the Nastic fuel card, and I'm using it this week just because my other one's a prepaid card and money's a little low. So I'm running his fuel card for a few weeks, and then I'll go right back to my routine of comparing them and using wherever I get the biggest discount. And of course, I incorporate Mudflap in there. They're usually not the cheapest, but every once in a while they will be. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. But congratulations on getting your card, Gary. Did you do it through my website with the link, or how did you contact them, through Google or what? Let's see. Tim, it's showing your microphone's off. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not. Okay, you're
Yeah,
back.
I'm vaping, so I don't want everybody to hear me sucking my vape. So
You'll sound like Darth Vader.
yeah, so when I'm talking, I unmic, and when I'm not talking, I'm courteous, and I might, mute it.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew so that you weren't think we were ignoring you or leaving you out of the conversation. So, all right. If you guys got anything else, throw it up there. If not, we'll probably wrap this up here pretty quick. I'll get back on the road. Anything else? Yep, we've got some comments coming. They appear on my phone quicker than they do on the screen. Advanced Trucking uses the Nastic fuel card, but no discount at Love's, plus a $2 fee. I've only fueled twice since I've been here, so I'm not really in a position to give you an expert opinion yet. I think the first time I fueled was at a TA in Slidell, Louisiana, and I got a pretty good discount. And then earlier today, I fueled at a Circle K. I got 50 gallons, and it was only like a nickel discount at the Circle K, but I needed fuel. It was on a little 2-lane road. When you're ready for a company driver breakdown of this company, let me know. I'll show you a breakdown of 1 month here. That'd be great. What's the company driver pay over there? Is there a range that you're aware of, or does everybody get the paid the same, or how does company driver pay, and what are the benefits like over there? James may know the answer to some of this.
No, not that stuff. That's all company driver stuff.
So American Trucker says they pay 54 cents a mile.
I'm with per diem. I'm making about 52, 53.
Yeah, I was.
So that's normal. But yeah, James has already told us he doesn't want nothing to do with company. So.
Yeah, he says 54 starting out. What I was thinking when American Trucker said that is I was going back to the earlier conversations when people were saying that, company drivers make more money. Here we got two guys working at the same company. American Trucker's getting 54 cents as a company driver, and James says he's taking home 80 cents to $1 doing a lease. Now James has some taxes and stuff that comes out of that,
Yeah.
and a breakdown or going in the shop could change those things. But when things are good, James is making 30 cents a mile more, uh, well, minus whatever his taxes are. But you figure the guy at 54 cents, he's still got to pay taxes too. Now he may not be paying self-employment taxes, but they're still taking out his payroll deductions. So it's just a toss-up. But if all things are the same and James ends up, being at where American Trucker is, or even a little less, at the end of his term, James will own a truck. Hang on, I may have to go honk a horn. Good
While he's
grief.
doing that, I'm just going to say one thing to people that are fighting about, or not fighting, or discussing about what's better, lease or owner op or company. It's real simple here. We're right at this present moment, when you add in health insurance and things like that we get that they don't, and things like that, and taxes, and we get taxes taken out and they don't, it all boils down to, yeah, right now things are closer to even than they've probably ever been. However, at the same time, if I had a choice between even or making a little bit more and having freedom and being able to do what I want to do with the truck and knowing that I might own it at one point, I'm going to take that over top of a company driver every day. Yeah, you can question it and say, well, company driver does this, company driver does that, IC does that. It just depends. Do you want to have freedom, or do you want to make money and have everybody taking your taxes out for you? I mean, it could go either way.
Well, and some people, like James and I were talking about the other day, some people need to be dispatched. Some people need to have some control over them because they're not what we used to call go-getters. And James and I know a guy that that he's not as much of a self starter, so the load boards would probably be terrible for him. It's not for everybody, and you have to kind of give yourself a hard look in the mirror and know what you're capable of and what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to do. And and I think I've said it before, I think a lot of people are doing lease purchase that should have never done one. And I think you've heard trucker CFO say there's a lot of people that are owner operators that had no business buying a truck, didn't know what they were doing, and now they're just trying to keep their head above water.
Yeah, and just to reiterate and add on to what you're saying, please, if you're listening right now to this show and you don't have 7 years minimum, 5 to 7 years minimum experience in this industry, please don't go lease drive, because you're the ones that are costing us out here, and the market's going further and further in the hole because you get out there and you don't know what you're doing. You have no experience, but you just want that, oh, I'm an owner operator title, and you're ruining the market. So stay out of the truck or go be a company driver for a while, learn the industry, and Todd will preach this. If you call Todd and you say, hey, yeah, I'm coming off the street, I just got done school, and I'm going to jump in the truck and be a lease driver, he's going to do his darndest to talk you out of it. And if he can't talk you out of it, then he's going to ask you if he can train you and teach you and tell you some things to help you out there that you don't kill this market any more than it already is killed. Right or wrong with that? Do we all agree? If you don't have experience, don't do this?
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. I accidentally blocked somebody that I didn't want to block them. I just wanted to time them out. All right. Here's another one. Let's see. Well, nope, it's gone now. Yeah, we had a guy at Swift. This is the story I was trying to think of. He called me and he said, Todd, I'm thinking about buying a truck, not doing a lease purchase. I'm thinking about buying a truck. I've been driving a long time. I've been studying the markets. I think I'm ready. I said, all right. How long you been driving? 4 months. That's and I was like, oh, you're so far from ready. And he's like, why? I'm like, you don't know. It's an old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, you don't know where to fuel. You don't know freight lanes. You don't know what a good rate is, what a bad rate is. You don't have a clue. You hadn't even gone through a winter yet.
Hey, let me tell you a little story about that. When I first got into it, and I called you, I don't know if you remember the phone call, but when I called you, Todd, back in September of 01 and asked you a bunch of questions about DART, I got to tell you the truth. I didn't know nothing. I've been driving for 14 years. Really, honestly, I probably shouldn't gotten involved in the game, but we all want to dabble into it. Now that I've done it, obviously, I'm ready for it and I like it. But what I'm getting at, and then even when I went to Swift, 4 months later, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to fuel right. I didn't know with payroll cut off what was the best time to fuel, and those things. Sometimes you just got to learn them along the way. But I did know the trucking aspect. I knew how to drive a truck. I knew what good freight lanes were for the most part because I'd been doing it before. But the business side of it, sometimes you just got to get your feet wet. And I'm not telling you for everybody to get their feet wet. They've got to know something about it though too.
Well, but the thing that James did that a lot of guys don't do is James asked a lot of good questions over a period of time. And so James and I had hours of conversations, and I told him, I said, I think you'll do good because you're asking the right kind of questions. I don't know if he remembers. I don't know if he remembers me saying that. But
well, another thing he had going for him, and the reason why I said you need to have minimum 5 years experience.
Right.
I didn't say you needed to have 5 years of owner op experience. I said you need to have 5 years of transportation industry experience. And that's what he had going for him. He had already been out there 14 years, so he knew the industry. Because the last thing you want to do as a lease driver or an owner op of any kind, I see, is to be trying to learn the job and the markets and things like that, and then on top of that, trying to pay bills and trying to figure out how the owner op side works. You need to have you need to have either a really good business sense and then be learning the trucking industry, or you need to have a really good trucking industry sense and learning the business. But you don't want to have to learn both at once. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, because it'd be too difficult to learn how to drive a truck and to run a business at the same time.
It's
Shannon
just
Thomas.
very few would make that. Very few would make it. I can't imagine very many would make it not knowing both or not knowing one or the other.
Shannon Thomas is another one that she would call and ask good questions, not just from me, but from a couple other YouTubers, and she would take notes and study, and she'd read reports, and so your chances of success are going to go up a lot if you're doing your homework and your research, and that's one thing James did. He really asked a lot of questions before he pulled the trigger. I got to be careful saying trigger on here. I've been driving for 27 years and I love it. It's more of a lifestyle than a career. I'm not married, no kids. I love being out here. I was kind of the opposite. I hated it about the first 20 years that I did it, and I've just started enjoying it the last few years.
Yeah, that's another thing that's hard about this industry is if you're married and you have young children, this is really a hard life for you. And I've been through it and I've done it. I was married twice. I had young kids, and being on the road is not easy. Don't think that you're out here having a great old time and driving around enjoying yourself, because you got the wife and the kids need this and that. And so you're missing home. You got to go home and but I'm like Todd. The first, 10 years or so wasn't all that great, but now it's easier because the kids are grown. The girlfriend takes care of herself, and so it's a lot easier when you're not missing home so much.
American truckers wanting to ask James, how long do you stay out? I think we've lost him for a minute. Maybe he'll come back. But it seemed like he said he stays out 2 to 3 weeks at a time. But
That's
he
what I
looks like
heard.
he's coming back now. We'll try to ask him.
Everybody wants to call when you go live, even though you tell them.
Yeah, I have to put it on Do Not Disturb. People are asking, how long do you stay out, or American Trucker is?
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's really about it.
That's what we thought you said, but we make sure that we didn't misquote you. Let's see. Anything else before we call it a night? I bet when they came on tonight, they weren't expecting to do 2 hours or 2.5 hours.
Well, I know your shows go a long time, so I was prepared for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
fun,
good.
and the time flies. I enjoy it, but when I started doing this, I James kept telling me forever to do it. I said, no, I don't want to do it. Nobody's going to watch. And so I started talking to other YouTubers, and they gave me the rules. Don't go over an hour. Don't do this. Don't do that. And man, we go 2 to 3 hours almost every week, it seems like.
And I can't understand why somebody would do less than an hour show, because here's the deal: drivers drive at different times of the day. So when they see you're live, they might be driving, but they might be pulling over in a half an hour. And I've done that many times with your show. I know you're on at 5, but I can't be on there until 6. But I go, well, Todd will run until 7 or 8, so I'll get on there for at least an hour, and then I'll rewatch the first half when I'm, when we're done.
Yep, it's good though. I have a lot of people that play it through their Bluetooth while they're driving, and I've got a few people that wait till the weekend and they binge watch me on the weekend. I've got a husband and wife that they sit down and watch me like a TV show. They watch me together, and so it's really cool. I appreciate everybody watching. I had no idea that people would be interested in something like this, but it's a lot of fun to do. So, all right. Well, the comments have died off. I guess we're going to call it a night, and I'm going to get back to driving. Thank y'all both for coming on tonight, and I guess we'll talk to you later. I'll probably talk to you both on the phone this week. Thank
Yeah,
y'all for
thanks for
being
having
here.
us, Todd. Thanks
Have a
for
good
having
night,
All
us.
right.
Tim.
Yeah,
Bye,
Yes,
we'll
Todd.
sir.
see you.
Bye bye.